In San Francisco, we have initiated a program, we call it the Seizure Program. What this program does is it empowers the officers, the police officers, and the members of animal care and control to immediately seize and impound any dog that is involved in an incident with a guide dog and their handler. This policy was put into place because when a guide dog and a handler are attacked, we consider it a crime in progress. The San Francisco Police Department makes that an A priority crime. A priority crimes are responded to immediately. When an officer arrives at the scene of an incident involving a guide dog and handler, the first thing the officer must do is ensure the safety of the handler. Because the handler is visually impaired and no longer has the use of their guide dog, the officer needs to make sure that their safety is the number one concern. Once the safety of the handler has been secured, the officer should then see if the handler needs medical attention or if the guide dog needs medical attention. Every effort should be made immediately to render aid. Once the medical needs of the handler and the dog have been addressed, then the officer is to proceed as they would on any serious crime. The offending dog and the owner or whoever is in control of that dog need to be located. The owner or whoever is in control need to be issued a citation or, if warranted, be arrested for the crime that has just been committed. The officer is to gather statements from any witnesses, get victim statements, collect any evidence, handle this as you would any serious crime because this is a serious crime. Once all of these things have been done, another thing that we do in the city is we have a vicious and dangerous dog hearing. At a vicious and dangerous dog hearing, the fate of the dog owner and the fate of the dog are addressed. Whoever was in control of that dog at the time of this incident can be restricted from possessing dogs in the future. If it is their dog, they can be restricted as to how they will enjoy the use of their dog. The reason we do these things is to make it safe for all of the citizens. The most important thing to remember is that when an officer responds to an incident involving a guide dog and handler, the officer is to take quick and decisive action to ensure the safety of the community.
Guide dogs are professional working dogs. Their skills are developed to enable them to perform their job with confidence. They differ from pet dogs in that they have been carefully bred, raised, and trained for the express purpose of providing a means of mobility for people who are blind or visually impaired. Since guide dogs must accompany their blind handlers everywhere, they are bred and socialized to be non-aggressive. Potential guide dog candidates are dropped from the training programs when they present aggressive behaviors or respond aggressively when challenged by other dogs. What does this mean in a practical day-to-day sense? A guide dog is trained to lead a person from point A to point B in a straight line, to stop for all changes in elevation such as curbs or stairs, and to lead their partner around obstacles such as tree limbs or low signs. The handler must know the directions for reaching their desired destination in order to give the dog verbal commands to get there. Guide dogs cannot read traffic signals. At street corners, the handler listens for the flow of traffic and decides when it is safe to give the dog the command to go forward and lead them across the street. The dog is trained to disobey the command if it sees a car approaching. Guide work takes skill and communication. The dog must avoid distractions such as noises, interesting or unusual smells, or other animals and people in order to concentrate on the work of guiding. If a handler's dog is attacked and injured, the handler has lost their primary means of mobility and independence. Loss of use of a guide dog violates a blind person's civil rights. These attacks are particularly devastating because the handler frequently cannot defend himself or his dog. Most guide dog schools do not recommend using deterrent sprays such as mace or pepper spray because it does not always work to deter an extremely vicious dog. Since the handler is visually impaired, they may spray the wrong dog or miss the attacking dog altogether. Blind people often cannot visually identify the attacking dog or dog owner. Blind and visually impaired individuals who work with guide dogs must not be discounted as credible witnesses just because they cannot see what has happened. They often have clear memory of the sequence of events, verbal phrases they have heard, accents, odors, and information they have gained from touching the attacking dog or another object. These observations can provide valuable input into solving the crime. Responding officers need to make this type of call a priority response and respond immediately. A crime has been committed even if the dog or person was not injured. A guide dog is an extension of the handler, and this situation needs to be treated accordingly. Do not assume that an attack on a guide dog is a dog-on-dog issue that should be responded to by an animal control officer. Because a person's safety is at risk, this is a police response. It is the responsibility of the responding officer to use any law or code available to them to cite the offending pet owner to the fullest extent of the law. The officer should fill out a police report and follow all proper procedures.
Owners of aggressive dogs are frequently unaware of their dog's vicious disposition, and their perception about their dog's temperament is often not accurate and skewed. It is critical that the responding officer not trust the dog owner's opinions about their dog's temperament after an attack.
Here are some other important and little-known considerations to bear in mind. Overly friendly or nuisance dog encounters can be just as hazardous to a blind person's safety as an attack. When a guide dog is distracted by the presence of another dog, even a friendly one, the blind person's safety is at risk. Threatening dogs behind fences or in pickup truck beds can be just as dangerous for a visually impaired person's safety. And professionally trained guide dogs are very friendly towards all of the dogs and people, and therefore unlikely to defend themselves during an attack. They are never taught to be protective.
Emotions run very high when a guide dog is attacked. To the visually impaired handler, their guide dog is so much more than a pet dog. The responding officer needs to be sensitive and aware of the emotional investment between handler and his or her dog. Both human and canine halves of working assistance dog teams may suffer serious psychological trauma after a vicious dog attack, and anxiety related to fear of recurring incidents can become overwhelming, preventing some individuals from being able to continue to go about their ordinary travel routines, and in some cases, causing premature retirement of the guide dog. Blind and visually impaired individuals can assist with investigating the incident if officers use clear verbal terminology when communicating. If you are uncertain about how to explain something or how to assist a visually impaired person, asking is always the best policy. These tips may help. Never pet guide dogs without permission. There is a special relationship between people who are blind and their dogs. These dogs are working animals that must not be distracted.
Even when a pet dog only wants to meet and greet a working guide dog, this unwanted interaction can result in unsafe travel along with other difficulties for the team. When a working team is the victim of an attack or recurring incidents of interference from uncontrolled pet dogs, irresponsible pet owners are breaking the law. Calls for assistance must be taken seriously and acted upon by the police and animal control.
On behalf of all working assistance dog teams, thank you for taking the time to learn more about appropriate response techniques to dog attacks on disabled individuals partnered with guide, hearing, and service dogs. When a guide dog is attacked, a crime has been committed. The disabled handler's civil rights have been violated, and these incidents must be assigned top priority. Please do your part to learn which laws apply to attacks on working teams in your area and implement changes to local regulations which will promote more meaningful protection for disabled individuals who depend on guide, hearing, and service dogs.